everyone, welcome to today's episode of Candid Kaya. Today I am here with Iva, and we are going to be talking about how you can submit a strong college application. Stay tuned to hear more. So hello Iva.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on today's episode. Let's start with letting the viewers know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Iva Storpare, and I'm originally from New Jersey. I graduated from Spelman College in 2011, and I'm 27 years old now, working as an admission counselor.
Okay. All right. So like we said, you're an admissions counselor. Tell us a little bit about how you got into that role.
Sure. So as a student in college, I really enjoyed leadership roles, and I really enjoyed being active with the students on campus administration. And so I also was a mentor or a tutor on the side. So I would work after school. So I thought I really wanted to go into education, K-12 possibly. And so I did. I taught for a little bit. And then I realized that wasn't for me. And so when I circled back with my mentors, they told me to consider higher education. And so I looked at residence life or admissions as areas to start in, and landed a job in admissions at a college in Florida, and packed everything and moved to Florida. And so that kind of opened that gate, and then I was able to return to Atlanta and work in admissions here.
All right. So tell us a little bit about a day in the life of an admissions counselor.
So it really depends on the season, right?
Okay.
So during the fall is kind of my heavy recruitment time, and so I go out to my territory, and I'm literally every day going to 3 to 4 high schools a day, talking to students about the school I work for, telling them all the great things, how to apply, how to showcase themselves the best, and then just really just helping students. So whether they decide that they want to come to my school or not, you know, I'm trying to give good tips, right? So that way they can present their best self in the future. Sometimes I have evening activities like college fairs and things like that. During the season when I come back into the office, that's heavy review season. So reviewing applications, making scholarship recommendations, things like that. And then we also have yield events in the spring. So those are events where we bring people to campus and maybe in their respective territories to kind of get them to keep their interest in the school that I work for.
So the first step to applying for college is clearly selecting a school. Do you have any tips on selecting what schools you should apply to?
Absolutely. So when looking at a college, you want to look at possibly where you could see yourself, right? So you want to look at fit. Fit is very, very important. So as equally as a school is seeing if you're a good fit, you want to see if the school is a good fit for you, right? So consider some things. Location. If location is so important to you, make sure you're looking at schools that have the location that you're into. So, you know, if you need city life, look at, you know, places that are cities. If you're into a private school or public school, if you want to maybe be at a liberal arts school where you can study multiple disciplines, you know what I mean, and have a well-rounded education, or if you want to go to a school that specializes in something particular. So you want to make sure that you're looking at all of those different things. You know, if graduation matters to you, look at the school's graduation rates, look at the school's retention rates. You want to see how that school can best help you. Right. If you are a minority student, you want to ask those specific questions to those schools, no matter what schools they are, to make sure that they're going to service you. So at the end of the day, you want to ask all of the questions to make sure that the school is really going to service your needs as a student once you get there.
All right. All right, so next we have the application. You've chosen a school, now it's time to get into the application. So what are the key things you were looking for in the application?
So when we're looking at applications, we want the best of the best, right? Mm-hmm. Different schools look at different applications in different ways. So there are so many different components that are involved. If you're applying to a school that takes a holistic review, that means that we're looking at everything. We're looking at your academics, your test scores, your leadership, your involvement, your community service, your character as a young person. So we look at that whole person and who that is. So those are the schools that are really going to take into consideration all of your accomplishments throughout your time in high school. Then there's schools that are really cut and dry, and so you either have the requirements or you don't. So you know, basically, you know, if you would get in based off of your numbers, right? And then you have schools that are test optional. So if you are maybe not the best test taker or something like that, you know that a school is looking for, you know, maybe other things to shine and not focus that much on your test scores. So there are a lot of different things that we look for. So it really depends on the school that you're applying to. That would determine, you know, what it is that the application or the admissions counselor rather is looking for.
So let's say I'm someone who wants to apply to 5 schools. But, ooh, them apps can get expensive.
Very, yeah.
Is there any way that an app could be free?
Absolutely. So typically you are able to get fee waivers from your guidance counselors or college counselors if you are eligible for free or reduced lunch. If you've gotten any of your standardized tests paid for or a fee waiver for that, the SAT or ACT, then you can talk to your guidance counselor. or your college advisor about getting fee waivers for college. And then if that's not an option, maybe you're not eligible for it, but you still don't have the funds or the resources, the worst somebody can tell you is no. So why not ask the school, ask the admission counselor if the school themselves would be willing to waive the application fee for you.
Right.
You never know.
Right, and I just want to clarify, we said waive the application fee. We ain't say waive tuition.
Right, the fee, the application fee.
So, as an admissions counselor, tell us some tips and also what you guys look for in the essays.
Absolutely. When we're looking at your essay, we want your essay to captivate the reader, right? So
Okay.
we're reading hundreds, thousands of these essays throughout a short period of time. And so when we're going through these essays, whether you're talking about a struggle that you overcame or something that was very impactful on your life, you want to make sure you convey that story to the reader. You want to answer the question that was asked and not just submit your own personal statement that doesn't address the question. You want to make sure it's not your first draft.
Okay.
We can tell when we're reading it. We don't want your first draft. We want you to have it proofread several times, and not just by yourself, because there's things that your eyes won't catch because you're used to reading it, or there's an expectation of what you were supposed to write.
Right.
So it's very important that you have several people read it over, and people who you trust to read it over and to give you a good response.
Okay. So, in addition to essays, there's also recommendations. So, who should be considered as recommenders, and how far in advance should they be notified?
You definitely want to give them at least 30 days,
Okay.
just so that way you have some time. You never know what's going on. They need to go back and forth with you about some things, but you definitely want to give them at least 30 days. When you're looking at who you want to write your recommendation letters to, I would really encourage you to consider people who know you, right? Teachers, counselors, mentors, and things like that. However, it depends on what schools you're looking at. If you're applying to a school that has a particular person who needs to submit that letter of recommendation letter, follow those rules and submit that letter of recommendation from that person.
Right.
And make sure that if you have to submit from a teacher, rather, it's a teacher who knows you, who knows your work ethic. Maybe it might not be the class that you got the A in. It may be a class that you got a lower grade in, but you really accomplished a lot in that time or overcame something in that class. The teacher really knows you, so they can talk about you for who you are and not just a copy and paste type letter of recommendation.
Right.
If you can submit additional letters of recommendation, then that's when you can look at some mentors and maybe counselors and things like that, or even maybe a boss from a job or something. But always abide by what kind of letters they want, where they want them from, and of course adhere to the deadline of submitting that letter of recommendation.
So, another question, for example, there's a lot of people that do a lot of sports, there's a lot of people in different clubs and organizations. How important is that aspect to an application?
It's very important. If you're looking at liberal arts schools, it's super important because we want well-rounded students. But schools are getting more and more competitive to get into, right? And we just want to know who you are. Again, when you're looking at a college or a university, you're looking at fit. And as equally as you're trying to see if you'll fit in there, they want to know if you'll fit in with them. And so, their schools are there for you to create clubs and organizations once you get there, of course. But they know that you're going to have a better experience if they know that you're involved and you've been active. So in your application, you always want to showcase your best self, who you are, what you've done, literally all throughout high school. So that way they can see more of who you are as a person and less as just a number or an applicant.
Okay. Is community service a large factor?
Huge factor. Community service is so important. Some schools actually have it as a requirement to graduate from college. And so you want to really consider community service. And, there's so many different levels of community service. You can maybe volunteer at your church, right, to do some things there, whether you work at the soup kitchen or you're working to help the tech department with, their shows and whatnot. There's so many ways you can give back. You can mentor, you can tutor. There's so many ways that you can get involved with your community. And at the end of the day, a school wants you to come to their community and add value. So you want to show them that you've been able to add value to the communities that you've been a part of.
Right. And as just my 2 cents, I was a member of the Key Club in high school, and that's another way to gain several hours of community service before you apply to college. So if you're not in that, maybe you could look into getting involved. So as an admissions counselor, you also get to review who receives scholarships. So tell us a little bit about what goes into selecting those candidates.
Absolutely. So when it comes to the merit-based scholarships, that's just cut and dry. What do you have academically? Your grades and your test scores, right? But then you also have community service scholarships. So those are ones that look at the effort and the impact that you've had in your community. So you want to showcase that. Some schools have deadlines for submitting the application to be considered for scholarships. That's another reason why you do want to apply early as well. But then there's some times where you have to submit an essay. So that's something additional. So that way they can learn a little bit more about you for that scholarship. But what we're looking for specifically is the best candidates, right? Academically, what do you have? And then outside of that. So say, for example, a school has 1,000 students who meet the minimum requirement for the GPA and test score. But there may be more. Now we're looking at your leadership roles. What did you do outside the classroom? Did you give back? Things like that. So there's different scholarships that we consider, but typically when you're applying to a school, we're looking at the merit scholarships, and those are the ones that are GPA and test score, and then a little bit more will set you above the next person.
All right. What are your best tips to finding excess funding?
So the biggest thing about finding money is do not be discouraged, because there's so much money out there, it's ridiculous. And there's so many different things that you can do. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do is not wait until your senior year, not even wait until your junior year. There are literally scholarships out there that you can get in middle school. If there are scholarships out there that you can't apply for just yet, keep them in a running log. You can create an organization or a group of people together, and you come together and you have a Google Excel sheet, right? So it's always being able to be updated. It doesn't have to be sent multiple times, but everybody's working on it, at the same time. You can constantly keep those things in there. Another thing is recycle your essays. Save the essays that you have and make sure that, of course, it's answering the question that they're asking for, but think about how many scholarship essays are about, tell me a time when, why do you need the money for school? What is it that you want to do when you grow up? Have those, look at those essays or look at those questions and have essays that are well prepared, proofread, and just in your little piggy bank, so that way you can take on and apply to many of those scholarships. A tip that someone actually mentioned to me that she used for her son who was an athlete, she would bake cookies or make dinner and things like for the athletes, and have a small group of people and have them over the house once a week, and the boys had to work on their scholarship applications for at least 1 hour, and her one regret was the fact that she didn't have them start sooner. And so there's so much money out there, so much money out there, and we really, really want our students to take advantage of it.
Amen to that. All right, Iva, so my last question is just going to simply be, what is your best piece of advice for aspiring college students?
I think aspiring college students should make sure that they are finding the best fit, right? Because when you are between 18 and 22 years old, you're growing up so much, and you want to be in a space that's comfortable for you. So consider this, right? When I talk to students who are looking at schools, I ask them, do you want to go to a school and have to get there and fight for everything that you deserve and that you want, or do you want to go someplace where it's created and it's already there for you and they're already flowing? So that's a different type of school. So just finding the best fit is really important. If you really don't like to be in the middle of nowhere, don't go to the middle of nowhere just because they're giving you money. Right. You know what I mean? Look at all those things. There's so many different factors. But the best thing is to not wait to the last minute, because it's when you wait to the last minute that you are forced into corners like that. Right. And college is important. Where you go shapes the next few years of your life. Going to Spelman was the best decision of my life. And
I second that.
And it has changed, so many different things, and it's opened so many different doors. And I would not want to go to another school just because of finances, you know what I mean? And I made it work. So really, really work hard at vetting the schools. If you can get a chance to visit the school, that would help so much. And don't visit when it's a spring break and nobody's there, or visit when it's, a time that nobody's on campus. Visit during the time that people are there so you can see what's going on, when it's exciting and vibrant, you know what I mean? Right. You want to get a feel for the school. As a minority, you want to ask minority questions. If you're looking at a school, ask minority graduation rates, retention rates, ask those specific questions. And be real. If you are a black minority and you want to know black, ask black, because they lump a lot of minorities together. So really, really ask those real questions that'll help you get to feel the school out a little bit. Get to know your admissions counselor. There's so many things that you can do that can help you get into the school, that can help you figure out the school is a good fit for you. But yeah, your research is going to be the biggest thing, and not just what you find on the internet. What you talk to, current students, past students, people at your school, your college counselors, they know a little bit too. So just do your research, give yourself time to do research, and get that money.
Well, Iva, thank you so much for coming on today's episode and sharing these awesome tips.
Thank you for having me.
If you guys have any questions for Iva, just leave them below in the comment section and we'll make sure that they get answered. Again, we hope that you've all left inspired to complete those applications, and best success in the future. All right. Again, thank you, and we'll see you next time.